Good morning, everyone. We'll just give it about one more minute and we'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you for those who are on time. I appreciate all of you. And give it about one more minute. We'll get started, have some fun here. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're in the country. My name is Josh Elohim. I'll be your speaker for today regarding rated and decline cases. Just some quick housekeeping for the call. Everyone's going to be muted so we can get through this smoothly. Once the webinar is finished, we'll go ahead and do a Q&A session so we can get some of your questions answered. And if for some reason you're on this call but you don't have our quote and apply software, you can go into the chat box where there's a link. You click on the link, you put in your data, you put in your NPN number, and you can have your quote and apply software right away. So let's go ahead and get started again. Thank you so much for all you attending. Now, I've been doing this for coming up on 12 years now. I can't believe time is going by so fast. But when I first started in this industry, I had zero experience. So I came in cold turkey, no life insurance experience. So I knew after owning a company for 5 years, I had to have a niche. So my niche was rated decline cases. I would call agents and say, hey, my name is Josh Elohim. I'm with BackNine Insurance. My niche is rated decline cases, but I'm sure all your clients are perfectly healthy, right? And I'd get a nice little laugh there. And then I'd say, then I would ask him for some opportunities. And I knew that I wasn't, it's not easy calling a 30-year experienced agent and saying, hey, give me some business, please. So I really had to have a niche there. And believe it or not, to this day, almost 12 years later, 2 out of the 3 of the biggest cases of my career have come from rated decline cases. And I want to explain those at the end of our conversation here with some testimonies. So perfect. So one thing we all know, all our clients are healthy as a horse till the exam comes back, right? I've heard every story in the book. I've had people send me pictures of them on the treadmill. That actually work, by the way, just so you know. So I've had people send pictures of treadmills. I've had people send pictures of their medications that they took the prescription but never actually took the pills. I've seen a little bit of everything here. So typically the first step that we do for challenging cases is we have something called our impaired risk quotes. So just to give you a visual. So let me go right here, sorry. So in essence, when you go into your BOSS system, you have the ability to go ahead and run a quote completely off the record. No hit on the MIB, no application, no exam. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your quoting section here, and then you go to impaired risk quotes. So I'll run through this. This is a great setup here, so have a look. So you're going to have to put in all this information, right? So let's just put in whatever. So you're going to plug in some basic information about your client. What's my issue? We got a bunch of different things here, right? So pick your issue. Let's just say it was this, the age of the onset. I'm just making some stuff up. You do have to put something into every one of these boxes. So you have to type in what the diagnosis is, what the treatment, pathology report, any other information you have. If the person has more than one issue, so you can just add a second impairment right here. Height, weight, again, I'm just plugging in anything. Tobacco use, family history. Family history is that people always think it doesn't make a big deal, but there's carriers that will give you a rating or decline you if your family has history involved. So it's important this is the greatest way to get started without bothering anybody. What type of coverage are you looking for? How much? Is there LTC involved? Did you see all the carriers just popped up right there? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick some of these companies, and if you all want to take a screenshot on your computer or take a picture with your phone, this is probably who I'd recommend sending this to. It's kind of going to be across the board here. So it's okay if you want to use these companies here. I'll give you all a second to take a screenshot with your phone or your computer, whatever you're doing there. That's how I would use. That's who I would use. If you have questions, please put them in the chat box. So once I hit this create button, which I'm not going to do because this is real, what's going to happen now is that all this information I plugged in is going to go out to those specific companies. And within 24 to 48 hours, you're going to get actual offers of where those companies would rate your client. How cool is that? These offers all come to you via an email, but also, you know, we know how agents are. We know how we all are, right? We don't need something till Monday and we request it on Wednesday and then we forget it. We look Monday and panic and can't find the email. So what we've done on our side is we actually have one universal place you can go to now to see all your impaired risk quotes. So I think I was on the right page. Let's go back to our quoting. So these are actual quotes. They're not real, it's dummy data. But so you can go into here and see, you know, all the quotes that you requested, right? All right here at your fingertips. So I can click in here and see all the information if I want to. How cool is that? Another option is, so again, just to recap, you go to quoting, impaired risk quotes, I fill in my information, right? It's all right there at your fingertips. You have access right there. I can see these quotes here, and when I go into here, I can see, you know, how many people, when I go into here, how many offers came in, all the basic information. This is dummy data, so we don't have a lot plugged into here, but I can see it all right here. A question that always comes up is, Josh, I don't know what questions to ask. Or my client doesn't know I don't know what questions to ask them. So if you look in here under forms and applications, we got almost every single issue right here. See it? We got 10 pages of issues. I always joke around, if you got the issues, we got the tissues here. So it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it was diabetes. I type in diabetes, there's my form right there. So you can instantly become an expert on what the carrier is looking for right here. So if you didn't have this information from the beginning, you go ahead and you click on diabetes. Now I know exactly what the carrier is looking for. What's the date of diagnosis? How often does a client visit their doctors? These are questions you can send to your clients and get them answered. Once you have this information, then at that point, you can go back to our questionnaire, right, like I showed you, and now you can fill this thing out with the information you've retrieved. Does that make sense, everybody? Very simple, very straight to the point. Just to remind you, there's no hit on the MIB, the Medical Information Bureau. So that way, if I get all declines, I know what I'm up against, right? There's no application. There's no exam. So again, we're doing a lot of dirty work here on the front end. Now, what's the biggest challenge you all run into here? Unfortunately, most of your clients don't tell the truth, right? Meaning that they'll say, oh, do you take any medications? No, I don't. I have a little trick for that. What I like to do is after I ask the question to the client, I remind them, do you take any medication? No, I don't. It's easy to lie once. The second time is a little bit harder. Just so you know, based on your social over the last 5 years, they're going to run what's called a prescription database check. And they're going to pull your records for the last 5 years. So let me just, is there any medications that you've taken? Well, you know what? I took a depression medication 3 years ago. You see how that works though? It's the same thing with the motor vehicle report. Based on your driver's license over the last 5 years, have you had anything on your license? Because they're going to pull the report. You know what? I had a DUI 2 years ago. And then, you know, the last thing is the MIB. Have you been rated or declined for life insurance? They check that stuff. So just a second reminder can help out. If someone lies 3 times, that's a professional. You can't help those people out. But I just want to give you kind of clues of how you can get people to tell the truth. So one thing to note is that on quote and apply, I'm not sure if you've all seen this, But a lot of, let's say that you ran it through the system, we got a table 2. In the past, you couldn't use quote and apply. You had to actually go to our own quoting software and have us do it for you. Well, now with our new, look at this, I can go to special health class. If it's a table 2, does everyone see it right there? Now you can run it right on the spot here because of adding these table ratings. I can go all the way down to table 6. So you can, my record is a table 8, by the way. So if anyone can beat that, let me know. But it was a $180,000 target case. So that's the only reason why we got the exception, bigger cases. I always joke around, I'm looking for clients who are older, who are wealthy and unhealthy. But if you take out the wealthy part, now you just have old and unhealthy. That's a harder test. But so that's a new feature we added into our system. So is that pretty straightforward? I can run an impaired risk quote. My client actually tells me something, they have an issue up front before we start the process. Then this is how we want to do things here. So that's called, and then just to recap, to give you one more visual, I go to quoting and I go to impaired risk quote. Does everyone see that there? Very simple, very straightforward. Another option we have is how many clients have you talked to that go into, they get sold life insurance, right? And you ask them what they have and they go like this. They put it into a drawer, they got no clue what they have. Anyone, has that happened to any agent before? I mean, I know I have friends and family have sold policies, so they still don't know what they have. It's unbelievable. But what we do is an easy way to go ahead and talk about someone's life insurance. And see, a lot of these agents, we're hunters, right? We hunt, we kill, we eat, we move on. But we forget about is that, does everyone know what about a conversion privilege with a life insurance policy? I know we're all visual here, so instead of just telling you, let me give you a visual here. Let's just put this at standard. This is in their quoting software, but let's just see. All right, let's just run just a regular term policy. So any term policy that you run, we have what's called a conversion privilege. And if you go to show policy details, you see it right here. By a raise of hands, which I can't see, how many people know what a conversion is? Okay, can't see anyone's hands, but that's fine. So a conversion is very simple. They're kind of as a rule of thumb, they're kind of across the board. This is a 20-year term, right? So in this situation, I can either convert for all 20 years or up to age 70, whatever comes first. So a lot of agents sell these term policies, right? They get their $500, and unfortunately, because we're hunters, they kill, they eat, they move on. But what they forget about is that the average person buys life insurance 8 to 9 times throughout their lifetime. Did you hear what I just said? 8 to 9 times. So in essence, they buy this policy and then they're going to buy it, they're going to do something again. So you can convert this policy. So the agent sells the $500 policy and then goes and gets another policy and forgets about that initial person. Now that fast forward 10 years, that person maybe has cancer now, maybe has a health issue or whatever it might be. Now they can't get insurance anymore. You call in, hey, I want to do what's called a complementary policy review. By the way, it's under forms and applications in the BOSS system. Does everyone see it right here? It's much easier to review and potentially replace someone's current policy than it is to go out to sell them new coverage. Would you all agree? I would. They've already bought it already. So now, so all the client has to do is fill out the highlighted section in yellow here. Just some basic information, sign off on who the owner is. That's it. You send that form back to us. On your behalf, we will reach out to the carriers and we'll actually grab the information of what the client currently has right now. Once we get that information back, now we'll do a review. Now we can give you some decisions. What's your client looking for? Maybe they're looking for a higher death benefit with the same premium. Maybe they want the same premium but a lower death benefit. Maybe they want to convert to permanent insurance. Well, do they have a term policy? Actually, they do. Maybe they bought a whole life policy, right? And they've gotten from a growth phase to a stability phase. They have a lot of cash in there. We could do what's called a 1035, which is just moving money from one policy to another with potentially paying no additional premium. I see a lot of those working with financial planners. All they're doing is just asking the question. Just a heads up, this does take about 7 to 10 days on average to get this back from the carrier because they move very slowly when they're in force business. I wouldn't recommend using this for term insurance. Term insurance is pretty straightforward. If you could just find out, all I need for term insurance is a policy number, a carrier name, and a client name, and I can go ahead and get those conversion privileges if they're available. So really you want to use this for permanent insurance because that's a little harder to get. So again, what are the options when we get these policies back? What can we do here to help out? Again, a lot of agents are afraid the client's going to ask them questions they don't know about. What question can they ask you here? I don't. All you're doing is just gathering information. We're doing the dirty work for you. Does that make sense, everybody? That's what we're here for, to help. Just a heads up, there are some carriers that will not give us information. I literally just had a request for MetLife. They're out of the life insurance business. So there are certain carriers that will not give us the information. All I can say is send it over to us and we'll let you know whether most of the companies will give it to us, but some of them won't. Any questions about the policy review form? I have a quick testimony here about this, but I just want to see if there's any questions. So in essence, I had a PNC agent. I've been tracking this guy for years, trying to get him to do a policy review. Josh, I'm doing very well financially. I don't need this. After a year, he's like, you're the most persistent SOB I've ever met in my life. Let me give it a shot. So he brings this to one of his top clients. It was a banking company and stock company. And the client, we unearthed, they just asked the question, what do what current insurance you have right now? We unearthed a $20 million 10-year key man policy that the client was on for. They were paying $112,000 a year for premium. Not a bad case, right? We went ahead and we shopped the case after we found the information. We shopped the case. We ended up getting them the same exact $20 million 10-year term 2 years later for $73,000 of premium. The client saved about $40,000 of premium. They couldn't sign the check fast enough. And then we ended up putting a check in the agent's pocket for over $60,000 of commission. I didn't have to even say, I told you so. All the zeros behind the 6 told the story. Now he keeps a laminated copy in every single presentation he goes on in his portfolio with policy review forms. All he did was just ask a question. You know your clients. You know your top clients. You don't have to sell anything. All you have to do is just do some fact finding. I just want to review what you currently have. Either way, you look like a knight in shining armor, because guess what? If we review the policy and what they have is adequate, you've done your job. You look good. If we review the policy and there's a better option out there, you also look good. So it's a win-win situation. But remember, this is not just a one-time thing. You have to review these policies every single year. Why? Because things change in people's lives. They do. People are healthy. People are unhealthy. People get married. And we actually have a way to blast this out, which I'll show you in a second. But people get married. People get divorced. Businesses start. Businesses close. It's a lot of reasons why you'd want to do this. So let's go back here to our, so you have a way to actually market this, what we're talking about here. So if I go to marketing and I go to your templates, I'm not a tech guy or a designer by any means, but I'm so passionate about this policy review. I actually designed this template here. So this is one I built. So look, I go to policy review. We would like to offer you a complimentary life insurance review. Look how simple that is. Here's some reasons personally why you'd want to do this. Health changes, marital status, careers change, increase, decrease in income. Here's some reasons business-wise. Business owners are a great candidate for policy reviews because if they don't have the insurance, it just opens their eyes to what they don't have. There you go. So again, you click on this link, it brings you to the form. By the way, you have two options. If you don't have your own email service, you can manually plug in about 100 emails right here on the spot, and you hit submit. If you do have your own email service, you can go to HTML here, and I can hit copy, or I can go ahead and just paste that into my own email service, if that makes sense. So you have a few options of how you can play around there, okay? But that policy review form, again, is built right into our system. Blast it out, ask the question. You can't go wrong here. All you're doing, and again, we're doing most of the dirty work for you, okay? So just so I'm gonna go back to my, my forms here. We have the same exact option for an annuity. So you can quote, you can run through annuities. And then someone did ask the question, I'm supposed to wait on questions, but yes, we can do the same thing for long-term care as well. And if it's traditional long-term care, we can review that, or if it's long-term care with a rider, we can review that as well. So the next thing I want to talk about is going to be a little more sophisticated, a little more advanced. This is called an informal. Now, an informal is kind of like the flagship or the cream of the crop when it comes to getting information. So what you do is you have your client fill out their doctor's information here, and then the second page is their signing. So this is really cool. What we're going to do is we're going to actually pull all the medical records for this client here. It does take a couple weeks to get all the records, and then we're going to send those records based on we're going to review them and look them over. Based on the records, we'll send this to about a handful of companies that we think. This is for your high-end client. Again, there's no hit on the MIB. There's no application, no exam. The reason why we reserve this for higher-end clients is because there are fees involved to pull the medical records. Now, if we get an offer and the carrier they'll pay for all the medical records as long as we submit an application. But let's say we come back all declines. Now there's a cost involved for the records. There could be one doctor, like I've seen 20 doctors. So, and that cost does trickle down to us, which would in turn trickle down to you. So I always say use this one cautiously. Let's say that you get a decline or rated and you have all the medical records. We can use this form here at no cost, and we can shop the case. All we need is a signature, so we don't need that first page. This is called an informal. Again, I would preserve this for your higher end clients that you don't want to drag through the mud. What's the difference between the policy review and this? I'd say the policy review is about 75% accurate because it's based on what you tell us. The informal is probably about 99% accurate because they're seeing the actual medical records. Now, obviously, why is it not 100%? Because there's that one point where they haven't seen an application and they haven't seen an exam. So if something new came up, that could change your offer. This is called an informal. Again, any questions about this? It's reserved for our higher end clientele. So hopefully you have a chance to use that. So we've gone over in policy reviews, we've gone over informals, we've gone over how to market, quote, and apply, right? And so I have one more testimony about, this is for, employee benefit agents, anyone that works with business owners, small to mid-size. I had a situation where this is another health situation, but we had a law firm. There was 100 employees total. There was 25 junior, senior level partners. And I got a call from an agent, and I'm like, why are you calling me about this? And what I found out is that the main guy was completely uninsurable. That's the health part of the equation. So he sends me over a census of the group. And what we did was called an executive carve out because we were able to put 1.5 million of permanent life insurance in the main guy. Everyone, his three higher end executives got $1 million each of death benefit. Everyone else got $1 million down to 300,000. It was all guaranteed issue at a preferred rate class. The guy had been insurable for 2 years straight. So we do have those options where if we have 10 or more lives, we can do guaranteed issue. And the way it works is that there's a $50,000 multiplier. You have to have 10 lives. So I can get up to 500,000 on 10 people. In that situation, there was 25 people. So we were to get 1.5 million of life insurance there. That's what you call turning something into nothing, right? There is something called 101J you have to qualify for there, meaning that they're looking for executives, so that anyone on that census has to make at least $100,000. Normally we have group term insurance, so in that situation, the group term is a $100,000 face amount. Obviously, that's not going to wet the whistle of someone executive, right? So the group term's fine for your employees, but your higher level, C-level suite executives are going to want more. So we can do what's called an executive carve out there. And if someone is uninsurable, then we have the ability to potentially get them coverage. Just don't tell me they're uninsurable. So that's kind of how that works. That was a $268,000 target case. That was the other case I was telling you about, that we had a challenge with the underwriting, with the health, and we were able to get something done. That case is still in force to this day. So it's everything worked out really well there. Another case I want to talk about was, I got a case from a New York life agent, and he calls me. I'll never forget this one. This kept me in business when I first started, but he calls me on December 6th and says, hey, I have a challenging case for you. And I'm like, I've been calling you all year. Are you calling me now? Just so you know, a little niche with challenging cases, year end, some of the carriers will fall behind their quotas. It's a great time to get challenging cases done. So he calls me and says, hey, I have a gal. She's worth about $30 million, owns a very successful business. And I said, this all sounds great. What is the challenge here? Well, it turns out she has MS. And as you all know, MS is a big no-no in our business. So we did it informally, like I showed you. We used that informal, and we got a table 4 in about a week from a carrier. They wanted $7 million for estate planning purposes, and she was in her 60s. So we got a table 4. We ended up getting the case done from start to finish. It came in on the 6th. It was done before Christmas, the 23rd to 24th. About 3 weeks to get a full case underwritten. Has anybody in their life got something done so quickly for a $7 million death benefit? But because we did the informal, it helps to speed the process up tremendously. That was a $220,000 target case. Again, so these cases are out there. It's just a matter of asking the question. Don't get into your hunter mentality of trying to sell, sell, sell. We have the ability just to ask, hey, I want to do a policy review. Let me see what you currently have. Can you help? Can you answer some questions on my policy? First, I have a team that works for me. I have to get all the information and gather it. I'm just in the gathering stage right now. Once we gather that information, then we go ahead and get you set up on the, and just so you know, we're here to help every step of the way. We can approach you, we can give you options, and also send it to you and go on the meeting with you, obviously via Zoom. We're not going to go face to face, but we could jump on a Zoom and we can explain the stuff to the client. We're here. We don't make a dollar until something gets sold, so we have every incentive to help you out. So just to recap what we went over today, we talked about our impaired risk quotes, right? So I go to my quoting and I go to impaired risk quotes. The client tells me they have some health issues. Perfect. Josh, I don't know what actual issues, I don't know, I can't fill this out because I don't know much about diabetes. You can go to our forms here, right? So they're all right here, and they're under forms and applications. You got 10 pages of issues here, right? Whether it's cancer, diabetes, you name it, it's all right here. Alcohol issues. You can fill out that form and then go back. We talked about the policy review for annuities, for life insurance, right? You can click on there and have that client fill out that form. Let's use that for permanent insurance. Term insurance is much easier. Just let us know and we can look that up. We also talked about informals, right? I can shop a case, a high-end client. I shop a case informally there. And then we talked about some testimonies about people who have used these concepts to change some lives, right? We love the ability we have some nice, if you work in the employee benefit space or property casualty with business owners, all we need is a census. We can review people who have group term insurance for other alternatives. We can review permanent policies. We're here to be a resource. So ask your client, I want to do a review. We also talked about marketing, right? So I can go to this marketing tab and I can actually we have template here to mark it to do a policy review there. Perfect. I like to keep this about 30 minutes. I really appreciate all you hanging on my every word here. So what I'm going to do is, if for some reason you don't have quote and apply, you can go into the chat box. Please ask. There are some questions here, but ask some more questions. I'm here to help and be a resource. And I appreciate all your time here. So I'll hang on for a minute or two. Thank you again for all being on. Looking forward to getting some nice challenging cases here. Hopefully, what are we looking for? Wealthy, older, and unhealthy. Don't take out that wealthy part or else we're in trouble. Perfect. Well, thank you. I really appreciate all your time. Let's go ahead and see if we can get some other cases going here for challenging cases, all right? Have a blessed day. So yes, we can review, one question came in, can we review a standalone LTC? The answer is yes. A lot of those policies, if it's more than 15 years old, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Those policies are gold. They have built-in inflation riders. They're really cheap. Now, if that person had an increase, which we've seen a lot of, Mass Mutual had a 75% increase in the last year or two. I know that Genworth just had a huge increase. Happy to have that conversation with you. If the client's 80, obviously you don't have as many options, but happy to have that conversation with you. If it is a newer policy, it's traditional, 100% would consider looking at a long-term care rider as opposed to, I guess the best candidate for that would be someone who already has life insurance and also already has a separate standalone LTC policy, because they're paying two costs now. We should review it and see if we can combine those into one. So yes, that's definitely an opportunity to look into. Other questions? All your clients must be healthy as horses, right? I love it. I love it. We can discuss that case. If you want to give me a call, Jeff, we can discuss that. That's going to be a little different. That'll be a little bit different. You'll probably have to gather that information. I have to see if we have an LTC form, but we can discuss it offline if you want to give me a call. Questions? I can't be that good. Someone's got a question. All right, so take advantage of the stuff we talked about. We're here to be a resource. We don't charge you for any of these services, so please put it to use. I know it works. I have the cases to back it up. So give us a chance. If you really do have a challenging case that's big, you might want to potentially wait for year end, but give us a call and let us decide whether it makes sense to do it year end or to do it now. All right. Again, thank you so much, all of you. I really appreciate your time, and you have a safe, blessed day. Talk to you soon.